Hello, welcome. My name is Tejal. My pronouns are she and they. I am here for an info session on how to make it easy, a business mentoring program with me. This program starts in just under a month on November 7th and runs until January 16th. So between 2024 and into 2025, which is almost unbelievable that we're in the last quarter of 2024 already. But we are here, and whether we are aware of it or not, we are moving in a direction of growth, potentially. You might also be feeling uncertainty about what's to come. You might also be feeling like you're seeking some support and next steps on how to build out the vision that you have in your mind for your work and your message to your community and to everyone in the world. So I'm here to share a little bit more about how you might be able to do that and how I envision doing that alongside with you through this program, Make It Easy, the business mentoring program. This presentation will be a little shorter than if you were here in attendance live. So as I go through it, please know that you have the resource of booking a one-on-one call with me, and you can do that at your earliest convenience, as today is October 8th, and on October 10th, in just 2 days, the early bird deadline for this program will close. I'll go ahead and share my screen. And as I share my screen, I'm going to invite you to follow along and take any notes that you feel would be helpful to you. All right, so here we are with Make It Easy with Tejal. That's me. It's an 11-week business mentoring program. It starts, like I said, on November 7th, and it runs for about 15 weeks into January 16th, 2025. So the intention of the program is to very closely work with you and your individual needs and concerns, and also help shift you into a forward moving path with systems and some templates and also some ready to go content so that by January, you're ready to move into the world of launching your program, sharing your messaging, working with content on social media in a way that is energy activating and not energy depleting or draining. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the program itself, but more specifically, how. How we'll unpack each module of the program and how the tools that I administer and feel expert level in will be offered to you for you to use and implement in your own work and day to day. And then finally, I'll share the timeline. So, what are the important dates to keep track of? And what are the next steps that you need to recognize are available to you if you have any further questions or if you're ready to apply or. So, take a moment to consider these 3 areas and whether or not you're a yes in any of these areas. Okay, so as I ask you this question, go ahead and make a check mark or an X. Do you consider yourself to be an inspired idealist? And make a note. Do you consider yourself to be someone with proven expertise? Meaning you've done work in a way that you can look back at it and say, yeah, that happened. I did that. I managed it. I offered that class. I offered that workshop. I offered that program. And maybe to show that you had some proven expertise in that area, you've done it more than once. So go ahead and make a note on that. And then finally, do you consider yourself someone who is looking for any kind of help, whether that's technical, financial, process-oriented support? So go ahead and make a note of that. So as you look at your notes, here's what I have to say about that. If you have 3 checks or 3 strikes, you're in. This program is small business mentoring program, which means your business is mostly managed by you. You might have independent contractors, you might have some part-time support, you might have some people that you're bartering services with so that you can continue to offer what you offer in a way that feels, at this point in time, like the only way you know how to do it. And that would be a small business. But it's not just a small business mentoring program. It's actually for the person who's really inspired by the work they do. And this is a huge point of consideration because I used to work in finance. I used to support products moving out into stores and work on the financial analysis and reporting for those products, for those launches, and for that distribution out into the world. And I liked my job, but I wasn't necessarily inspired by it. I learned so much that fast forward to a full 20 years later, I can now speak to it and offer these insights to others so that they can get stronger in these technical areas. But I wasn't necessarily inspired by the work I was doing. I was trucking along and I liked it. And very much that mindset came from watching my parents do work that they weren't necessarily inspired by, but they felt was their only option after coming to America from India and not having mastery of the language, not having mastery of the technical tools, maybe not having mentors that elevated them appropriately. And so working decades in careers that they weren't necessarily inspired by, but on the other hand, supported their lifestyle, supported their need to have a mortgage payment, raise their children, and provide somewhat for that education and continuing ed for their children, also for their own retirement. So very much a different mindset around what it is to work in the field that you like versus what it is to work in the field that you feel inspired by. The idealist part is a way to speak to the part of you that often comes to the table with the question, well, what if it's possible we can change the systems? What if it's possible we can work with people in a different way? What if it's possible we can do this that we're talking about more accessibly? So, how are we looking at the work that we're doing in a way that we feel inspired and that we feel like we are the idealist coming to the table, thinking of options and approaches? I'm not saying you have to consistently feel this way because everybody gets tired and overwhelmed and anxious and uncertain. I'm inviting you to consider if the work that you are responsible for, that you lead and manage, at the end of the day, is the work that you wish to be doing and putting out in the world because it inspires you, you know it inspires others, and because you feel like it holds the ideals that you carry and want to see out in the world. From there, the proven expertise in their field is in your field. What is your field? Are you a healer of some sort? Are you a therapist of some sort? Are you a photographer of some sort? Are you a designer? Are you a content creator? Are you a yoga teacher? Are you any kind of person that feels like the work that you're doing in your small business inspires you, inspires the world, and also you have a track record that you can look back on and say, yeah, I've been doing this for X amount of months. I had some ebbs and flows here. I took some time off here. I was really busy during this time. But yes, I can look back at the work I've done and say, I know what I'm doing. And I know that I want to be doing that going forward. So, how can you share with me a little more about your proven expertise? One way to really know if this is you is you're motivated and you feel grounded. If the overwhelming feeling is uncertain and unsure, that might be a different area to work on rather than this program. But I would love to talk to you about that in a one-on-one call. And then where I can shine for you, where I can really support you, is in these three areas around financial expertise, technical expertise, and process-oriented expertise. I'm not coming to you and saying, doesn't matter what you do, I know how to do it better. That's not the case at all. You are the person that is leading the game in the work that you're doing. I'm not going to come to another photographer and say, I know how to do everything you do, but better. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm just sharing with you that in my 10, 11 years of learning finance through a corporate lens and then using that information in my own small business for another 10 years, I've come to a point where I know I can offer insights, templates, systems, and support as a peer for your journey ahead. Now, I wonder if this resonates with you and how this might land for you. And we'll dig a little bit into that in just a few slides. Since today's conversation is really about how Make It Easy can help you, I'm going to go into all the different ways how we can work together to get a better handle on the ways you want to grow and strengthen in your fields. Last time we had this conversation, I was talking about why and really sharing with you why my journey helps to put me in a place to offer this program to you and why you might be ready to tap me on the shoulder and say, I'm in for this program. I want to make sure that you know why you want this program so that you can understand how it can help you. So I think that the different ways we will work together will be really beneficial for literally anyone coming in that's applied and that I've reviewed your application and I feel confident I can help you. That is why there's an application process. I don't feel so comfortable saying anybody who needs help, I can catch all of you and take care of all of you. That is not my thing. I learned that early on when I finished a 200-hour teaching program for yoga. And the first piece of advice I got as I was handed my certificate was go teach anyone and everyone all the time. And I thought, yeah, sure, I want to put these skills to use. Let's do it. And then very quickly I realized that anyone and everyone meant people with injuries, people that had never practiced before, people that didn't even know how to sit on the floor. And my training did not prepare me for that. My training prepared me for people who were able-bodied and had knowledge, not just of yoga, or even throw yoga out the window, but had a knowledge of how their bodies moved and worked and could care for them without me being able to care for them. And that is just not good advice. So I'm not inviting anyone and everyone into this training and saying that I can help you all. I'm saying take a moment to consider if what I'm offering you feels resonant. And if it does, and you're certain, go ahead and apply. If you need a conversation and you just want to make sure and get a gut check on that, let's have a conversation. I don't expect you to engage in this multi-week container with me without ever having been in a space with me where you understand my teaching style and also the way that I hold space for others. Because very much this container will be about having space held for you and then taking in the content as I deliver it to you. Also, we'll work together to check your results, check all your homework, all the work you're doing for the programs you're trying to offer. And I want that to feel like a good supportive place for you. That actually is something that is unique to this program. We will work together by placing a strong focus on your individual work and needs. And that means this program will create space for everyone in it, which is a small group. I'm only intending to have 10 or less people in it so that everyone in it can share from a place of truth and vulnerability. Not just with me, but with one another in the group. And that will build a support system for you. We won't rely on that support system fully until we're out of the program, until the container closes. But throughout the program, those bonds and that communication will strengthen, not just with me, because you'll have free flowing communication with me, but you'll also have that with the rest of your cohort. So my vision is to have Voxer support, which is a texting and voice note support system between you and I. And then another forum with the rest of the group, excluding me, such as WhatsApp, if that works for everyone in the group, but it's something that you will all decide together on the ways that you will communicate with each other on this specific material that creates questions for you on your own material. So every session will have a good amount of material to cover built into each meeting, which will allow us to focus in on the content and learning as well. We'll have check-ins. We'll check in with where you're at. We'll try to clear the space of any emotions that you feel are dragging you down. But we will really spend a lot of time on content and learning, which hopefully will help rev your engines, even if you've been sitting in park for a while, even if you feel like you've been in neutral and someone else has been pushing the car for a while. So what I want to do is really turn the key a few times and then take the foot off the brakes and put it into drive with you. And all of this is designed to help us move out of overwhelm, anxiety, fear, frustration, right? And be in a place where we can utilize systems and we can utilize the support that's being offered. I know personally, I've been in coaching programs before as an attendee, as a person being coached, where I just was not in the space mentally, emotionally, physically, where I could utilize the systems being offered. I mean, I've also had stories where I've been in coaching program, and it literally was not for me. And yet it was sold to me as perfect for me. And I am very hyper conscious of that. And I do not want us to be anybody in that position, neither you nor I be in a position where now we can't meet each other, right? And neither of us are giving enough percentage effort into the program. So I don't want to be in that place. I've experienced it. It does not feel good. And I don't want us to move there. I don't want to move from there with you either. So these tools are meant to be useful to you. And how Make It Easy will help is through using the tools, gaining familiarity, and then knowing where you need to modify the tools for your own bandwidth, behavior, and learning style. I want to help do that up front, but I want us to get into the routine of using the tools so that it provides us automaticity. I'm going to repeat that word because I just learned that it is a real word. It's the one that I've been grasping for, and it's the reason why I call this Make It Easy. Automaticity is a word that in the field of psychology, it's the ability to do things without occupying the mind with low-level details that are required. So it allows the task at hand to become an automatic response pattern or habit. And it's usually the result of learning, repetition, and practice. So why this program is a multi-week program that spans over 3 months is because we need to practice, right? We need to keep practicing what we're learning so that we have a certain level of automaticity and we are no longer focusing on these low-level tasks that we know how to do, just like the way we would recognize our own hand, from anyone else's. It's just something that we know at a base level. This work will help us to do 3 things. Gain clarity about your work. Gain clarity about the potential to generate revenue in your work. And help give you clarity about what programs and tasks you prefer as you do this work. We're going to do this through systems and scheduling. And one of the things I've been thinking is that systems and scheduling might feel like not that shiny and exciting, but I am here to say that systems are sexy. A person who has systems in place that feels really grounded in their systems, so much so that they can navigate unforeseen circumstances in a way that just brings them right back into flow, is a person that I want to mess with, okay? because it's something I can learn continually. And it's something that I admire about staying balanced and equanimous about the work that we do, being in harmony with the work that we do. And I've had people tell me, I'm super creative. I can't be nailed down. I can't be locked into systems. And I'm here to say systems are a framework, but it can also be like two paddles. So if you're playing table tennis and you're the ping pong ball, table tennis ball, that's going over the net, one bounce, two bounces, and the pace can pick up depending, right? But these paddles are there to keep you within bounds, to say, like, yes, great idea. And let's bounce it off the backboard of your values. Great idea. Let's make sure we have the timeline to do it. Great idea. Let's make sure we have the support to do it. And so here we are bouncing, getting really creative, visual, expansive, and then also using these values, these systems, these schedules that we know work for us and work for others as the backboard of how we make decisions. We want to be able to shoot, hit the backboard, and then make the basket. Some of the things you're going to gain from this report, tangible things you will walk away with, and how this will help you in the future is through the skills that we build that allow you to use these tools. So in order to walk away with 12 to 18 months of revenue goals that really are supported by programs, workshops, classes, offers, on-demand options, like you name it, invitations you receive from other companies or other folks or programs you wish to create, the way that you're going to walk away from this program with 12 to 18 months of revenue goals listed, scheduled, is through reasoning and rationale. We are not going to go based off the weather. And I don't know if you wanted us to do this based off of what's happening astrologically, but we're not going to do that either. There are other folks that can support you in that way. I'm here to support you based off reasoning and rationale. In terms of reasoning, I want to make sure that we're hitting the backboard of your values each time you're making a decision. In terms of rationale, I want us to make sure that we have adequate time, adequate support, and the right tools to help us hit those goals. You'll also walk away with a couple templates to organize and collect your past program revenues, analyze seasonal trends for program forecasting. If all this sounds like gobbledygook to you, we're going to go through it slowly together and with all the questions that you have as you're using those tools. Marketing, social media, I know this is huge. So module 1 is actually called Stop Manifesting, Start Forecasting Your Revenue. I just talked about that. Module 2 is about creating a sustainable, realistic, ready to launch program. In order to launch a program, we need to share about it. We need to write about it. We need to organize our timeline for it. Right? We got to check in with our important key dates and any benchmarks internally and externally. So I'd like to support you in a full-blown marketing and promo plan for at least one of your upcoming programs. I mean, the question I have for you is, which one of your upcoming programs do you want to focus on? I know that you're here because you're bubbling with ideas and creativity, and I would like to invite you to consider, take a moment to jot it down. Which program do I want to present Tejal with? If you find you already know it's just bursting out of you, put it in your application as you apply for this program. Let me know. I want to start thinking about it as early as possible with you. One thing I want to share about that, other people have other ways of doing this, but I have a ready to launch program design document. And that document puts all your important info together for all the systems where you need to post about that program, you need to talk about that program, what you need to create about this program, gives you a timeline, and we are going to have a lot of documents that feed into that. Well, not a lot, but like 1 to 3 documents that feed into that, and assets that you will need that will allow you to present this program to the world or your community. And it means we'll have something sustainable and realistic for you to adhere to, not just for this program launch, but also ongoing for your social media and content sharing plan. If you're someone that says to me, listen, I can only manage X amount a week, I'll say, great, let's work with that. If you want to push yourself to go beyond what you're telling me you have the capacity for, I might say, let's work with what you have the capacity for. Let's build that automaticity that can help you feel like you've made it easy for yourself. And maybe a year down the road, you work with a specialist, another person that is going to help you increase that content, right? And put it to a place where you feel ready to go next. I don't want you to do it all at once. And I think you might be feeling like, no, that's what I need. I'm ready to do everything. And let me tell you, as someone who's been in this for a long time, I think I opened my social media account over 10 years ago. It's a lot. And it ebbs and flows with my life. And I appreciate that I don't feel like the social media runs me around. I feel like I can still tell social media when I want it in my life and when I want to work on it. And that to me is a healthy relationship. So I want to help you understand and analyze what is your relationship currently and what are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals for that work? Other things that we'll have walking away from the program, these are tangible things in addition to a 12 to 18-month revenue plan, in addition to 2 templates to organize and collect past program data, and then ongoing program data to really understand those seasonal trends for forecasting. You'll have that full-blown marketing and promo plan for at least one of your upcoming programs, but this plan is something you can then continue to use. It's a template you can continue to use. You're also going to have a sustainable and realistic social media posting plan that's ongoing, built on manageable tasks and values-aligned content. Okay, we're not going to veer off the path in any way just because somebody told you to. Like, that somebody isn't me, is basically what I'm saying. And then we're also going to have at least 6 social media posts that you can now plug into your new social media plan. Okay, so it's not an egregious amount of posts. We're not going to say 15 weeks, you're going to have 7 days a week, you're going to have 7 times 15, you're going to have 105 posts. No, I'm not asking you to post daily. I'm asking you to consider what is manageable within your bandwidth. And then we'll do at least 6 together. And then you'll be able to build off of that with your plan that we create. From there, you'll also walk away with 1 to 2 completed writing samples. And I shouldn't say samples because they'll be completed writings from you that are either blogs or newsletter pieces. And then we'll have a special guest speaker, Tristan Katz of Tristan Katz Creative, coming in to say, here's how we can repurpose the content. Here's how we can find value in certain formats of content. You've done this work in a blog, you've done this work in a newsletter. Here's how we're going to take that and kind of divvy it up into other areas. Make sure we know what's valuable and successful in terms of our own metrics and gauge. And then we're going to repeat that content in a way that attracts more people, in a way that continues to share what's really values aligned for you. So I'm really excited about having a guest for us to learn from together. I have here a side note that a reminder, this program is for those with about 1 or more years teaching experience in yoga or otherwise. I mean, experience teaching yoga or otherwise. That otherwise, again, could be photography. It could be like a vocal lesson instructor. It could be a swim instructor. It could be a jewelry maker. It could be artisanal craft maker. It could be like another finance person. Really anything that you are interested in doing and that you've been doing, you want more support with in terms of systems, scheduling, financial, process-oriented, technical support. I'm here for you. Which brings us to really my last bit of content for today. take a moment and just assess for yourself, based on everything you heard, what are the systems that you feel or know you need the most support with? The technical realm looks like learning systems, learning apps, finding apps that you feel could be beneficial for you. I've gone through a lot of project management apps because I know I like them. I know I want to use them. I'm not sold on how much they all cost and which one I want to invest in. But this is the kind of technical maneuvering you might need to be doing and you might need support with. Are you a person that right now knows you need the financial support that I'm speaking to? You want to understand when and how the money is going to come in. And you want to do this with the reasoning and rationale of everything you've done in the past. Maybe you also or only need process-oriented help. So what does the process look like for you? And how to create a structure that works for you. I think my mom is a night owl, okay, y'all? But in the system that she lives in the home and house culture that she lives in, she's not able to lean into that. And I think what it does is restricts some of her creativity. It restricts some of her energy, right? If she were able to lean into the way she knows she works best or gets a lot of energy, then how much would open up for her? And I want you to consider your process. And maybe there's a story there that somewhere you've heard that the way you process things, the way you get energy, the way you're creative needs to shift because it's not the norm. And I really want to support you in understanding your process and being more process oriented, but to your individual needs. That's one area you might need support with. And then finally, another area that you'll be provided a lot of tools with is the area of templates, scheduling, right? What is the output you need for the ideas that are in your mind, right? For this inspired idea list to actually have active, ongoing containers for others. So take a moment to jot that down. What are the systems you need the most support with? And then I would love to hear about that. This is the timeline. Today is when we're having our final info session. This is focused on how the tools will support you, how you'll be administered the tools. Early bird closes in just 2 days. So in 48 hours, early bird will close. And what does that mean? It means that 15% off will expire. The full price for this program is $3,000 over 15 weeks. Each session is a 90-minute session, and we are generally having a session Monday and a session Thursday for 15 weeks. We do have about 3 weeks off because we have a week at the end of November off, and then we have 2 weeks at the end of December and first week of Jan off. So 15% off of 3,000 brings the rate down to 2,550. And if you compare this with other small group coaching programs, I want you to compare it with how much content you're going to get that I'm sharing about, how many templates and tools you're going to walk away with, and what are you going to tangibly have when you walk out of this program, as well as how much support you feel you'll get from each other in the cohort, as well as from me. All of that in addition to how many hours we'll be together. So we'll be together at least for 3 hours each week, I think over a course of 12 weeks, even though it's a 15-week container. Okay, so 12 times 3, that's 36 hours of information, education, sharing, and co-working. I just want you to sit with whether or not that feels like the right fit for you at this time. For anyone that needs additional scholarship support, please request it, and that can be accommodated. And then, of course, the container opens. So if you look, today's October 8th, container opens November 7th. There might be some prep work in advance. So I want you to apply as soon as possible so that this program is happening and that you are as prepared as you can be for that November 7th date. From there, we have almost all of November, all of December, and 2 weeks into January, 2 to 3 weeks into January until the program ends and the container closes. A reminder that support from your cohort will continue after January 16th. Your next steps based on this timeline, this less than 1 month to launch timeline, I highly encourage you to schedule a call with me. Let's chat one-on-one. It's a 30-minute call. I'll answer all of your questions. If you don't even know what those questions are, if it's pre-verbal or non-verbal, we'll just shake it out. We'll talk it out. We'll figure it out. I do encourage that time to connect with me though. And then whenever you're ready, go ahead and submit your application. This is the only way that you will be accepted into the program. I say accepted, but I also say like, this is the only way I get to know as much about you through your writing and sharing about your work than when we get together. And I don't want to wait till when we get together to learn this information. In fact, I can't. I have to know it in advance. So you do have to submit your application as soon as possible. Remember to submit it by October 10th in 2 days' time if you want to be eligible for that early bird discount. And then, of course, the container opens and we'll be together learning. I want to know what your questions are. I want to know if there are concerns. If you want to know from me when this will happen because you can't make this specific container, it might happen again next year, but I have a lot of different like life things happening. And so next year is still a little bit too far away for me to plan. I can plan into January to close this container with you, and then I'm going to take a little break and a breather, and then we'll revisit. So if this timeline could work for you, I encourage you to go for it. If you know it's just not the right fit for the right time, we'll hang tight and we'll see if we can work together at a later date. However, I'm excited to talk to you. Do schedule that call with me whenever you're ready.